What's up, y'all? We're out here working in the yard today. So we're getting back to the fence a little bit, and you'll see I've trimmed a whole bunch of stuff, and I've got me a string line up for my 200-foot stretch down one side of the property. See, we're across the front, and then we'll go down the side, and eventually we'll go across the back, and one day I'll build some gates and stuff. But for right now, look at all my clearing that used to be really like wooded straight into the corner. I'm almost going to be able to drive a lawnmower all the way around the edge of the yard eventually. Up here I've got this big tree. The string is like coming around the side of it. The line's actually going to be over a wee bit, like over here, because it's the property line's coming like right down the center of that tree. So we're going to build a box around it, like you see how I've got up here this bracing. We got the post and the guy in between, and the post will come out with another one somewhere around that side of the tree, and then we'll come in and then that way, and then we'll go back over and straight down the line. So we won't like have to cut down the big old cool oak tree. We'll just make a big box around it. But now we're coming up to the project at hand. You may notice, you might be able to tell, probably can't because the string kind of blends in here, but that big tree the string is up against down there, this big tree that's all dead and ugly looking, but it's still alive a little bit because it has the green on the top. This tree we're not going to build a box around. We're going to go ahead and cut it down because it's going to fall down at some point anyway. Up in here it's all like half rotted away and there's a big crack and it's just been leaning further, but it just hasn't fell over in time. So now we have to chop on it. Phew! Didn't quite turn the camera back on in time. But anywho, she's down. Have a look at me choppy bits. Chop, 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 chop. Soft spot in the middle. Chip, chip, chip on that edge. Well, now it's in the way even more. Dang it! So now I can take my saw and chew all these bits up. Cut out the firewood, stack up the brushy stuff, have another fire, and then we can put our string back up, and it'll probably hang straight. Alright, now that's all processed up a little bit. Got another little bonfire too. Woo! That's what we need when it's 113 out. Anyway, see, this is where the big tree was. The big half dead tree. And now we've got a straight line. If you can see the string there. Looks like we would have fell right behind it, but I'm glad it's already cut down now so it doesn't fall on the fence later. And now, if we look up this way, see the string It's just about up against that, what do you call it with the big leaves, the magnolia tree there. And up at the front at the other big tree, it still needs to come over a little more, so we're going to be all up against that magnolia. But that's a really neat tree, so we're probably just going to put our post in where it needs to go up there, and then just fudge into the property a little bit, right where we come around the big pretty magnolia tree. Because there's no sense cutting that thing down, since it makes the big pretty leaves and the big smelly flowers, and it's going to be it's going to make a lot of shade over here on this side and corner of the yard. So we're going to leave that there and just fudge the fence around it. But right now, I think it might be time for a break. And then we can start digging holes and putting posts in on this side. Ooh, yeah. Alright. Starting to look more fancy. See, now I've got my brace that ties the wire coming straight down the hill. We still got to come out, put a post, go up forward, put a post and back in, and finish off that corner brace up there. But now I've started down at the bottom corner. Down the hill here, I've had that one really tall post in for quite some time. Now I finally put another post 6 feet away from it, built a brace, and then we're 1, 2, 3 posts up the hill. Yep. Now we're a couple posts up the hill, so now all we got left to do is dig a whole lot more holes and set a whole lot more posts between here and up there. But first, we need to go get a drink, right buddy? It's too hot. Woo! Now we've got that brace down the hill, the brace up the hill, and about 18, 19 posts in between the two. So that's 200 feet roughly up this side. There's that tree we fudged around. That's going to be a big pretty shady structure. And now it is about time to wrap it up for the day. Look, I found a wheelbarrow. And a metal grate contraption thing. Ooh, wonder what that used to be for. That's a bunch of posts. And a lot of cutting and snipping and clearing and chopping trees down. Now that about wraps it up for today. And here in the next instant, we'll be back tomorrow after work, and we'll start stretching some of that 6-foot wire from the back corner up the hill this way. See how far she makes it to. If I run out of it, we'll switch to 4-foot wire. Now we're back out here the next day, next evening after work, and I've got my braces tied. See, I got cables running from that top corner down to the bottom corner. The reason for that is that guy is pulled, the cable's twisted up tight, so it's pulling the top of this post over against the bottom of that one, because when I roll this fence wire out and stretch it tight, it's going to be trying to pull that brace down, so that cable there is pulling it back the other way to counteract the forces, you see? And then they live happily forever after. Now, I've got my first roll of the used wire over here tied up in the corner, so I can take off up the hill with the unrolling of it. Alright, that's not too bad. The first roll made it almost halfway. I got like 3 more little spools of this used wire here. Might only have to tie on 1 or 2 more times. Yep, so now I'll bring the other wire over, set it up next to that one, tie them together roll it out more till we get all the way to the end, dig out next to my big tree stump so the fence can slip in between it and the other tree, and then we can stretch on it. Now I've got all me rolls of wire laid out. There's 4 of them, 4 little rolls of wire, and when you know it worked, oop, kicking the thing, and when you know it worked out just perfect too. It made it right up to there. All my rolls are laid out and tied together. Where do they tie together? See? Where one roll ends, another one ties on, and you just don't even know. Yep, so that's how you tie all the sections together, all the little pieces loop on to the other pieces, holds up really strong, you tighten them down good with a pair of pliers. Did that 4 times, and 200 feet down the line later, now I've made it all the way to this section of my around the tree brace that'll be supporting the tensions on this end. You guys. She's telling me. You're so loud. Now we're rolled up here to this part. Whoop. This is where the 6-foot wire made it to. Just got to this side of that brace. So I got these 2 2x4s. I'm going to sandwich them together on that wire, put some screws, and then I got my brand new little 8,000-pound come-along down there, hooked up to my very old login chain that's wrapped around that big tree. Then we'll sandwich these boards together, tie up the come-along to it, and we'll stretch this wire just a little bit, because this is the cheap welded wire. It ain't the good kind of woven together stuff with the kinkles in it. That other fence wire, like we have right here. See how this wire is, every piece is woven together, and then there's the little kinkles in the middle. The reason for that is when you get to stretching on it real hard, all the little bends in the wire can be stretched out a little bit, and you can really put some tension on it so it holds strong for lots and lots of years. This stuff, not so much. It's a little cheaper. The wires are all welded together and they're straight, so I can pull a little bit of tension on it and get it kind of straight and looking pretty nice, but you can't put too much or the wire will start breaking apart from itself. You'll be breaking all the little welded connections. That's also why I can get away with screwing these 2x4s together, because when you stretch that wire, you really need to drill some holes through your boards and put some bolts in them. The screws aren't going to hold the wire tight enough. But here, be just fine. Alright, now I've got that come along stretcher taken loose from the fence, our 6-foot wire here securely attached to my brace, even though she's only hooked to one side of my brace. On account of I didn't quite have enough to get to the other side. No matter, I went ahead and left my stretcher device, the 2 2x4s on it for now, hold that bit up straight. And for now we took that loose piece of the 4-foot wire that's just strewn around the tree, just tied it off to the end of my 6-foot wire. That way for now, until we get back up here, put another 2-3 posts in and do the bracey situation boxed around the tree. Until we get to that, all the doggies, yeah, you too, all the dogs can't just dip right through the fence up here in the corner. So now they're like solid inside the yard all through here. Ooh, look at all me fence. That's another 200 feet out of the way. The only thing I got left to do on this side is there's a few places, well, that and what I just set up there, and there's a few places where the posts are a little high from where I ran into a big root in the ground. So I got like 3 of them that I'll cut a little shorter. That way, see, like this one here, she's too tall. Maybe you can see where the wire ends. Yeah. I've got about 3.5 inches above my 6-foot wire everywhere. So we'll keep that going on these couple tall posts. See? 3.5. Got it like that, so if I want to, I can come back with a single strand of the barbed wires. Keep folks on the other side. But check it out. Ooh. Alright, but now that about wraps up the end of this video. That's another 200 feet of my fence out of the way. In the next backyard fencing video, we'll be going that way. 225.34786 feet to the other property line. So won't that be fun? I can't wait. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day. Comment, like, subscribe, and we'll see you later.